Good evening and welcome to Thursday Movie Flashback. Right? Is that right?
Something close
Yeah,
to that.
something like I'm looking at it right here. Thursday. Oh my God, how are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well. Having fun, living life, hiring new employees. It's all good.
Do you own the clinic that you work at, or are you just
No, I don't. I manage it for the company.
okay?
I plan on partnering with them to open up some in the future, but when that opportunity comes up.
Okay. I was wondering that when uh yeah, just wondering that. So, how have you been?
I've been doing well. Like I said, been working hard, busy, finding stuff like that, playing with toys, taking pictures, uh, having fun.
I took my stuff out in the snow this weekend.
We had a whole 4 hours of snow, so I had to run out and grab a couple quick picks.
I gotta say this. Yeah, we had snow for a couple days. Now it's been in the high 30s and 40s, raining, and it
Yep.
looks like it's not going to break. So I guess spring is here for a short bit, and then it'll probably be winter again in February sometime.
Yeah, it's been like we live in Seattle or something up here the last several days because we have all this fog in the morning that we don't normally have.
Oh, we had I was driving home from work, and we have keep having these fog advisories, and we don't get them that bad. But this was 4 o'clock. I was leaving 4:30, and I could see maybe leaving Detroit maybe 15, 20 stories up on the high rise buildings, which I
Wow.
can't remember ever being like that in Detroit. Like it's never, especially not at 4 o'clock, 4:35 when you're leaving. So have you been watching anything?
Yeah, we finished up Reacher last week. That was awesome. I
Okay, well,
enjoyed it.
all
It
right.
it's not as good as the first season, but I still really enjoyed it.
All right.
Uh,
So God, I liked Reacher. And I understand it's not real. But that last episode was so unrealistic that I'm like, oh my God.
Hey, man, he obviously went to the John Matrix School of weightlifting. I mean, that's how you can hold an entire gurney with a person strapped on it on the
Oh,
back of a helicopter with one arm.
oh, there wasn't just that. There were other.
No, I know.
Again,
There's several other things.
I enjoy the series overall. I really did. But that last episode, I was just like, what the hell just happened here? Because you know what? It's been pretty consistent of how it's going.
Yep.
Um, but that last episode, you really went to the whole not superhero, but the super action.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty close to superhero. I mean, it was almost the same thing as Captain America holding on to the helipad and the helicopter at the same time.
But Captain America is
Right.
Captain America.
Right.
But
And Reacher's
but
not, but it's almost the same.
yeah, but the first 7 episodes weren't that much like that.
Right.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed
And
it, but it got
yeah.
pretty campy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then we've been watching Night Court came back, and that's fun. But my every time we turn it on, my daughter wants to watch the original Night Court. And I'm like, yes, I know, honey, it is better. Yes. And then Percy Jackson, been watching
So
that too.
yep, we just watched the episode today. Quickly, I want to say, Mr. Wonderful, you can want to recount all you want, but I don't count the votes. And not to mention that the Princess Bride didn't even come in number two.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised about that too. I mean, I like it, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
they
had a B Boy.
they
We
live
got
is definitely up there for me.
Down South. Woody is here. PNC. Aaron the Toy Enhancer. We got
Nolan.
Ed. Um, we already said hi to. We got Liquid Identity, who I saw in the full force earlier today. Woody 2022, or I'm sorry, Woody 222 or 222. Nolan is here. And we got a good crowd today.
Yeah, yeah. the other thing that we just started watching that my wife suggested, she brought it up to my attention. For whatever reason, she wanted to rewatch the X-Men '90s cartoon,
Oh,
and my daughter fought us on it. She says, "No, I want to rewatch Gargoyles again." And we're like, "Well, we love Gargoyles, but we've watched that like 6 times in the past 3 months. So let's watch X-Men." And we finally talked her into it, and now we can't get her away from it. She just wants to watch the next episode and the next episode and the next episode.
that is awesome. So okay, so Percy Jackson, we caught up onto it. So we watched the episode today. Now,
Yeah, we haven't watched that one yet.
Okay, so I'm not going to spoil. Okay, so this isn't going to spoil anything, but I want you to hear this. So there's this point where she's talking to Percy, and she wants him to get out to go to school, and they're having an argument, right? So it's a flashback,
Mm-hmm.
and she finally gets mad, and she kind of yells at him, and then it moves to present day, and he opens up this, like, it looks like a cellar door, and I'm like, wow, that was rough. She told him to get out and just threw him in there. I wouldn't want to get out either. And Olivia just, and like when you see the scene, the way it's cut, it's like you're gonna be like, oh, I see. And
Yeah.
Olivia, I said that, and Olivia's sitting there and she's watching it, and she's like, and I'm watching, like, she couldn't stop laughing. Because it looks like she's telling him to get out, and then next thing you know, it's like almost like she's throwing him in this cellar-looking door. I do enjoy it. Again, I don't know anything about the books or anything like that, but it's been pretty fun to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did finish, or I finished Reacher.
Yeah, we finished Reacher.
So has anyone watched? I watched this a couple weeks ago alone. It's not bad. Fury of the Gods, Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods.
I have seen it. Yes.
It is almost as, and I'm actually upset with myself that I didn't wait to watch it with my daughter, because she would have really enjoyed it. We're gonna have to watch it eventually. It was almost as bad as Aquaman 2. It is so campy.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it.
Yep. Right.
Because
Exactly.
it was fun, but so unrealistically stupid.
Yep.
Yeah. We're gonna get into that. But let's see. Anything else? Anyone else been watching anything specific in the chat here? We got Jay Astro who jumped in here. Hated it, totally pointless. Down south hasn't watched Shazam. Listen, I'm not telling anyone to run out and watch it right now. I'm just saying.
It's not a really good movie, and what's really disappointing is they wasted an opportunity with Pierce Brosnan doing Dr. Fate. I mean, he's perfect casting. I thought he did well with the role, but could have been different.
I think so. The craziest thing, and I remember the first one when we saw this, and then the second one is no better. And I don't mean this in a bad way. The one girl that plays like the oldest girl, her and her older self look almost identical.
Oh yeah.
Like when they change, I'm like, did they get a different actress? Because, and I remember actually pointing that out when we saw it. So.
Airwolf, love that show. My wife got that for me on DVD a couple years ago. She found it and said, "Hey, you should have this."
But yeah, Jay Astro highlighted.
What's that?
You had Jay Astro highlighted when you were talking about Airwolf.
Oh, where was
I was about to say,
one?
I thought the first one was pretty good too. You know what? So Airwolf was one of those love hates for me, because I loved Blue Thunder, even though I don't even remember Blue Thunder. And I was like, Blue Thunder would kill Airwolf. I mean, it wouldn't, because Airwolf was so unrealistic.
Yeah.
But the more you see Airwolf, and the more you know that people tried to back that, and I don't think they're ever going to get it.
No, I built my own Lego Airwolf as a kid. I thought that was pretty cool.
Didn't they have a hasn't there recently been an Airwolf done from Playmobil.
Oh, you know what? I bet you Playmobil's done it. They've done just about everything else.
Yeah,
My
I
Playmobil
thought.
Enterprise is amazing.
Yeah, I thought they recently, and when recently, I mean in the past few years, had done one. So, um,
I have not thought about that show in forever.
no, neither have I.
Hey,
Um,
you know what else is funny is that we got a whole bunch of DVDs for free recently. Sold a bunch of them, but in the listing of it, they had Moonlighting season one, and then I see that Disney is releasing digital versions of Moonlight that you can purchase now. And I'm like, Moonlighting, and I'm like, man, I haven't thought about that either. That's the beginning of Bruce's career.
yeah, well, that was one of those things when, like, when he did Die Hard, you're like the guy from Moonlighting. Yeah,
Right.
like I'm gonna believe he can beat anyone up. That's another movie we could eventually do because there's a lot to that. Um,
Oh yeah.
and say hi to Allison. Allison, I got your color pencils for your show that I'll be doing, and when I opened it, I went, Olivia, don't you have these pencils? And she's like, I think so. I'm like, son of a bitch. Not like I'm gonna lose sleep over the $10 it cost, but uh, I was like, as soon as I looked at them, I'm like, I think I've seen these things for like the past 10 years in your room, not doing anything.
Hey, and there's somebody watching Moonlighting. All right.
It's one of those fun. It's one of those fun. I don't remember it being. I remember it being fun. So I don't want to say that it's fun. I remember it being fun.
You know what? I want to go back and talk about fun shows of that era. Did you ever see the show Sledgehammer
Yes.
with the giant chromed out hand cannon?
Yes. And it was so bad.
It's so bad.
But I
I
like
loved
that
it.
actor. I remember
Yeah.
liking him because what else was he in?
Oh, he's been in a lot of stuff, and he always plays the same kind of
Yep.
goofy, kind of dumb guy or whatever. But yeah, no, I thought that was funny.
So JLS, I am with you. Hogan's boat from Thunder in Paradise would be awesome. Maybe that should be the next HasLab. And JLS will also be on Thursday with a friend on February 29th. He's like,
Nice.
I had to double check it. I'm like, yep, it's leap year.
Yeah.
So he'll be the only one on February 29th for a long time.
Yep.
How even if I'm doing it in 4 years still, but anyway, I can't think if there's anything else that sure there's something else I have not watched. I know I mentioned it to you a little bit earlier. The new Masters of the Universe. It seemed like there's a lot of controversy in the nerd world about it.
Yeah,
So
the new part just dropped today, and I haven't seen it yet either, but I'll probably watch it.
yeah, well, Olivia and I watched the first one, and I enjoyed it. I know not everyone enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I just watched it as someone watching, He-Man, and so
Yeah.
I told her mom, I'm like, well, I'm like, she can come back on Sunday because there's some things that we need to watch. So, okay, whatever. So I got to pick them up on Sunday to drive out to see their sister. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Now, I just briefly before we go through everything, uh, do you like any of the other Predator movies?
Prey.
You did like Prey?
Well, I thought Prey was really good.
Okay.
I like Prey. Um, God, concept wise, there's so many good concept wise.
Yeah.
The one where they all get, I don't know, which one is it? They all get taken to a different world.
See, I like that one. That's Predators.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yes. Yeah.
When you find out that the guy from that '70s show is actually like
The serial killer.
yes.
Yeah. I like that one. So I do appreciate the first one, and rewatching it again reminds me of how good it actually is as just a standalone. It's got everything you need type of movie. The second one I enjoyed because I love Danny Glover. I love the aliens connection, and then I loved. I like Predators, and then as a guilty pleasure because I know it's a terrible movie. I like the first AVP.
I own that, and I don't remember hating it. But other than Prey, there's none that I'm like, that's a good movie. I'll sit down and watch it. I didn't even like
Yeah.
Predator 2. And I think it's because you went from Arnold to Danny Glover in the city. It didn't work for me.
The biggest disruption for that one for me is that they paid almost no reference to John Matrix, or
Yes.
they didn't even talk
Dutch.
about anything that happened with Dutch with the team. With
Don't
the
worry.
team. Oh yeah, I wish you should have brought up that picture that I sent you of that statue that looks like Dutch and Matrix
Oh
giving
God,
each
yeah, I
other
did not.
hugs.
Oh man,
That was funny.
you sent the Facebook page too.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll see if I can get it up at the end, possibly. All right. So before we get started,
And
I
Gary
want to talk.
Busey was awesome in that movie. It was one of his best roles, I think, that he actually got to act in.
Does he remember?
Probably not.
All right. So before we get started, we already did this movie, and to be honest, if you go look on Punks on Film, it's still the #1 video that gets watched. I don't know why it's in their algorithm, but that's Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
So if you haven't seen yet, quickly, Jeff, thank you very much. Hey, I know I at least got my name read in it, so it meant I was one of the top 4. But thank you very much.
And if you listen real close, the guy who announced the winner gave a slight jab to the winner. He wasn't real happy that they won, I guess.
Who announced it again?
Shartimus.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought. Yeah. Okay, so Amazon has dropped their remake of Roadhouse, and I watched it because listen, there can be good.
I'm glad you caught that, JLS. Yes, that's exactly what I was doing there.
There can be good remakes that I don't hate. And I had Matthew watch it before we started, and I'm like, so if you haven't seen the trailer of the new Roadhouse, all I know is it took the whole essence out of what Roadhouse was from what I saw. Like Dalton is not supposed to be this badass. I mean, he is supposed to be but he's not a guy that walks around acting like a badass. And everything that I saw in that, it was just like, let's make this an action movie. And as I said to Matthew, I go, I don't have a problem. I would be happier if it was just set in the same timeline as Roadhouse, but called something completely different. Maybe they reference like this old cooler that they learned stuff from. Just it would be so much better. Quickly, you saw it before we started. What did you think of your first impression of it?
I mean, it looked like The Fighter or something like that, The Warrior or The Fighter or one of those types of movies. It's just it didn't look interesting to me at all. The fight scenes look like they might be kind of interesting, so I might watch it from that perspective. But it has nothing to do with Roadhouse, and the guy is trying to glorify it, whatever. He's a UFC fighter, all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Okay, so Conor McGregor seems to be the bad guy in it. So my question is, how can an actual MMA fighter be in a movie and choreograph better fight scenes than what you actually seen him in real life, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't like the guy that Captain America fought, because they were superheroes. I can't even remember his name.
George
Saint
St.
Pierre.
Pierre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. Okay, like he's superheroes. That kind of makes sense. I don't know. I saw it. That just the way I see Jake Gyllenhaal act, I'm like, that's not how Dalton was. He didn't want to be part of the spotlight. He just took care of business when it needed to be. It's something he could do.
Well, so I mean, that's the whole point of the Bounce Crew, right? Is you keep the place calm, you keep the place functioning. You don't make a big deal about it. Anything that happens, you
Yep.
get you separate the appropriate parties from the situation, and you get them out of the place because you want everybody else to have a good time and continue on spending money and all this other stuff. So I don't know. This is just weird.
Uh, War Chest says, didn't look like Roadhouse to me, and McGregor's character, if he is playing Billy, seems to be to have a much bigger part to play than the OG movie. Yeah, he's not in it that much. Jimmy is not in it that much. In the original Roadhouse, as we as we noticed when we watched it, like I always remember him seeming like he had more, but he really didn't. He showed up
Yeah.
there for a couple fight scenes, um, and he gets taken out pretty early. Like he's the big bad guy to fight, and he's like the first one to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, I saw it and I was like, you know what? I got to mention it because it is a movie and it's one that we discussed.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll be talking about that one.
No, I don't think so.
I have better things to do with my life, like not watch it. With that said, it'll probably come out and I'll probably be like, I'm gonna sit here and watch it.
I'm curious about the fight scenes. I always like to see how they choreograph stuff.
And hey, we've seen other movies that, maybe it's so bad that it's good. Maybe it's just the trailer sucked, but
Well, yeah, there's always that.
well, let's get into Predator. Um, Once again, thought it'd be easier to find pictures. It wasn't. Had a long weekend, so I didn't even get started until Tuesday, and then so it gave me Tuesday and Wednesday to watch the movie again, take notes. I think you did the same thing, or relatively the same.
Yeah, it took me a couple of days to finally get through all of it to write everything down, but I had some time to do it. But um, this movie has so many incredible people associated with it, from the music to the producers to the director, the actors that are in it, the actors that weren't in it. um, and one of my favorite things about these types of movies back in the day is they had pressure because they had budgets, and the budgets were a lot smaller, but you had people hounding them saying, hey, if I'm not hooked in the first 10 minutes, I'm walking out of the movie theater. So they had to set the stage in like 20 or 30 minutes. So you can't be a Zack Snyder and take 2.5 hours to set up a movie to get another movie. In this one, you've got 10 minutes and the entire thing's laid out. You know who all the characters are, you know what the initial premise is, and you're going.
It's funny that you bring up Zack Snyder because there are some slow motion parts in here that I'm like, was young Zack Snyder doing this? Because, but they weren't nearly that slow, and they did kind of push the story, unlike Zack Snyder's, where you're like, good lord, like, is this thing ever going to end? All right, so unfortunately, you would have thought I would have been able to find a picture of the spacecraft that they came in, but I couldn't. But the beginning
So,
of the movie starts with the spacecraft coming in.
and I think this was the biggest disservice to the movie that the corporate overlords had their input on and made them do. I thought it would have been so much better if you didn't have that at the beginning of the movie.
So,
Um,
but you know what's funny? This was one of the first movies this was the first R movie that my dad took me to see. I don't remember the spacecraft. Like, I don't remember it at all.
I don't remember seeing it on the first several hundred times that I watched it. Probably, I don't know.
Me too.
It wasn't until like late '90s, early 2000s that I remember seeing it. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it was put in later. I forget exactly how it happened, but I know that it was like some kind of add-on or something later. And I think it tells a better story without that piece being shown.
I'm with you 100% because um, you're not supposed to know what this is. it's
Right.
supposed to be kept secret for a while, that you know that there's some mysterious thing that's out there. But
Yeah.
I don't remember it, and that's why I kind of feel the same way. It's like, was this kind of thrown in there or what? Um, so today it doesn't bother me, but
Right.
again, if I was going to show someone this that had never seen it, I would start this after that,
Yep.
because then it gives everything away. I don't want to jump to a different movie, but I thought the movie Signs was done really well. Like, you didn't realize like these were all these aliens that were showing up and everything.
Yeah.
Um, whether you like that movie or not, I know some people aren't a
Right.
big fan of
Yeah.
stuff, but I think that guy's done some really good movies, and then he's done some really bad ones.
Yeah.
But we see him coming in on the helicopters, so we kind of see the team showing up. And I love the Hueys. I love
Oh
the
yeah. The way I mean, they were doing so much good work with Huey's
yeah.
at this time. The early to late '80s, they did a lot of great shots with it. This is a perfect setup because you get to see the whole team. You get to be introduced to them, at least visually, and some of their personality traits.
Yep. But you're not introduced to them till later on.
Right.
Like you see them, and you see them all kind of getting out, and then you see Dutch getting out, but you also see their characteristic. Like,
Yep.
Mac is dressed up. Like, why is that guy in a suit, right?
Right.
But that's just his character.
Yep.
And I really do like it. And Big M, Predator is the perfect action movie. I will say this.
Pretty darn close. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about how this is like the best G.I. Joe movie, or one of the
Yeah.
best. I was telling Tony, I go, I wish I could write a comic book, or knew someone that could write. And I go, you know what would be perfect? A LARP declassified. And you actually get, it's declassified, that team with Tommy, Snake Eyes, Stalker, and the three guys that get killed, they really end up
Wade,
fighting
Dickie, and
the
Ramon.
Predator. Yeah. Like, how awesome would that be? Like, if you get this like 4-part declassified, and you find out that really this is how those guys were lost.
Something else that I wanted to point out, because it hit me this time, and I don't remember really paying attention to it before, but the musical cues and the score on this, I thought were really well done to build the suspense, the intensity of it, and it's Alan Silvestri, which, I mean, he did so many great scores for action movies. So yeah.
I am with you. The music hits perfect. There's nothing overdone. It's very suspenseful. And throughout the whole, again, everything about this, I think everything about this movie works,
Hmm.
which might have been a whole different story.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Had we had somebody else.
I still, no matter what, I have a fascination with watching Jeeps drive through mud and stuff. So even watching them drive the little bit from the helicopter through the mud, I'm always fascinated by just like buildings in the middle of nowhere being built.
Yeah.
So we see Dutch meeting with the general, kind
Hmm.
of gives them a breakdown of what they're doing, and I like the way this got played off, because you don't realize right away that they know each other and that they were friends.
Right.
Um, Carl Weathers doesn't maybe do the best acting here, because he's just so happy, but like Dutch is like looking at him like, "Who the
I'm
hell
gonna
are
kill
you?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they talked about it, why us, and then he, says the whole like, if someone said you're the best damn, I don't know, what was it? You know it better than I do.
Yeah, no, yeah, he brings it up with the best damn team around and all that
Yeah,
stuff. So yeah,
and then we get this
of
very
course.
iconic. Even as a kid, I was like, that guy from Rocky, he's not even close to being as big as the other guy. And it's really put on, like, again, as wonderful as Carl Weathers is in shape, you're like, all right, like, it just doesn't work. But yeah, this is where he kind of calls him out, tell him he's been pushing pencils too long. But they really get into, what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
And then
the
you get
other,
the cigar smoking. So we get that Dutch has always got his freaking cigar in his mouth.
yeah, and this is something that when you're young you don't get this, but when he asks him like, why didn't you take this,
Yeah, the
like,
Libya job. I
yeah.
thought that was a reference to Rambo, but that movie hadn't come out. That movie where Rambo went to Libya hadn't come out yet.
Oh, okay. But the thing about this is you really hear like they have a code of honor. They're a rescue team. They're not
Yep.
assassins. He makes that perfectly clear.
Yep.
Which you obviously find out later on exactly what's going on here. And they really don't take orders from the CIA too well.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you find out that he's from the CIA, that sets a whole different tone in their relationship too.
Yep. And Arnold, Dutch makes it clear, like, hey, we work alone. He's like, hey, we all got our orders. But we know that. Well, we find out that they worked together before.
Yep.
So it's not like they're just throwing some guy in there.
I love this scene where the choppers are flying through the mountains with the rock and roll music.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool.
Every time I hear that song, this is what I think of.
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that they're going to each team member, like they're showing the team members. Now, I like this part because obviously none of them are happy that Dylan is with them.
Right.
And when Blaine spits the chew out after he tries getting everyone to chew,
right,
and then says some disparaging words that we won't say here. What I liked about this is after he spits it on his shoe or on his boot, Dylan leans over and shows them he's not scared of them. Like,
right.
He's not gonna be. That's not the one we're not gonna say.
Yeah.
We can say sexual Tyrannosaurus. It's the slack jaw.
Yeah,
but
the
I like
jaw
that
one.
Yeah, he's showing that, like, I'm not gonna be intimidated by you guys. I've done missions like this. I'm not worried about that.
Right.
And you can tell that Blaine actually he respects it. Like, all right, like, although they don't really like him.
What I don't get is that they're in the chopper going out to mission before Dutch asks him who the backup is.
Yeah. Again, a few plot holes, but I will say not as many plot holes in this as Commando. So then you get Blaine just like, all right, you know what? He's showing respect to him, which is nice.
Yeah.
But
Hawkins tries to tell a joke, and this is Shane Black, the writer who wrote The Predator, which is a terrible movie.
And the joke of what was it? I told my girlfriend the other day I'd like a little pussy, and she responded and said, I'd like a little pussy too, because her pussy's as big as a house. And
nobody laughs.
Billy does not laugh at all. Billy doesn't find it funny, which once again is foreshadowing what's going to happen later on, which will foreshadow something after that.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that, like, no one laughs. He specifically tells it to Billy. And he just
and so you're setting up the character movements there, because you've got the chew spitting, you've got the stoic Indian guy, you've got Mac who's dry shaving with a razor, you've got Blaine talking about his sexual tyrannosaurism and slack-jawed people, and then you get to see character moments from each one of them here. And so this is all like in the first 10 minutes of the movie, everything's set up.
Yes, yeah. Payne jumps in. Why would you have my twin on screen for Larry?
Okay.
I think we're. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what like. I love you, Aaron, but I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
And then when they cross the boundary, they turn the music off, turn the lights off, and they get into the border crossing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I couldn't find any pictures of them coming down, and I just love seeing guys come down the ropes.
Yeah.
Other than in Black Hawk Down,
Right.
that guy comes down like Owen Hart. Anyway,
and they're getting down there, and Dill's like, "You'll never know how much I miss this," and Dutch is like, I knew you weren't very smart.
yes. So Payne said he had hair like that in the 80s and glasses similar. Okay, well, sorry that we missed your. Sorry we missed that, Payne. Next time, send me a picture so I know. All right. So again, I try and do my best with these pictures and these slides here. So they come across a copter in the trees. They kind of ask, like, how do they have heat seekers? You know, gorillas with heat seekers. And thinking this is a long time ago. This isn't like today. Today they may, and you don't really think about it. But they come across the one Huey in there, and they climb up it.
Well, this also setting that precedent, like something fishy's going on here. What's this Huey doing here? What's this stuff that we're finding here?
Well, the fact that they climb up a Huey that's caught in the trees, I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like I don't trust that big old helicopter to not come down out of that tree.
Yeah, and Dylan's trying to play it off as, the taxi for the people that got kidnapped and stuff. And he says,
Yep.
This is no ordinary taxi. This is a surveillance bird.
And after they find it, they look, and Billy is, he's tracking them.
Yep.
And that's when he tells them, it doesn't make any sense. 12 gorillas,
Yep.
And 6 U.S. followed them.
Something else. Yeah, something else is going on here. U.S. Army boots they find.
And you hear the and so I'm sorry. So as Billy tracks them, as he cuts down, he's drinking the water, which is, I believe, my next slide. I know I had that slide at one point. Yeah, so this is when he's kind of telling them that, hey, you know what? I don't know where they're at. And then as he's drinking water, he finds them, and you can hear the predator for the first time.
Yeah, so that's the first sound cue that we have
Yes.
from it. Yeah. And you can see it. Billy also feels like he's being watched this whole time.
And I love this because Billy gets startled, and he's the one who doesn't get startled about anything.
Yeah.
He's one that he's supposed to be one that doesn't get scared over anything, and he is scared throughout this movie, which I think is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And quickly, thank you very much, James
Hey,
Lucas,
thanks.
for becoming the latest member. And all you two could also become members if you just hit that button.
I like Poncho and Dutch having that conversation. Is like, remember Afghanistan? It's like, hey, this isn't looking right. Something's funny here.
Yeah.
And then that's where then Billy drinks from that. He sees the crows. Everyone sees it. And then Holy Mother of God, you find them, and the dog tags of Jim Harper, and Dutch knows Jim Harper.
All right, wait, back up. He says he takes it with the knife, and it is thrown off a knife on a shoestring straight to Dutch. I'm sorry. Have you ever thrown anything with a knife? It goes wherever the hell it. Once again, his superpowers. But yeah, this is another thing that I really do like is that he knows who Jim Harper is. He talks about that they're out of Fort Bragg, Green
Yep.
Berets,
Yep.
that his team would never walk into an ambush like this. Like,
So what's going on? And Dylan's like, I don't know, nothing.
but not only that, but they set it up where it's like, again, Arnold doesn't come in here thinking like, oh, we're the best team. No one, there's no like. He's like, hey, there's other guys that are great too. And
Yeah.
what happened? These guys are
Yep.
just as good as us. Like they should not have gotten, what happened here.
Right.
So I love that because this movie really does build character in every single person.
Yep.
In a short amount of time. So they go looking for the camp, and of course Dylan falls or slips, and you have Mac that kind of grabs him and just threatens him.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll bleed you real quiet and leave you here. Like I absolutely loved how Mac was.
Yeah.
I like this guy like in all the roles that I've ever seen him in. He is an intimidating guy.
Yeah.
Like if he told you to do something, you'd be like, "Yes, sir."
Right.
I don't care like how big you are, how much if you're a boxing champion, if you're a karate champion, you're gonna be like, "Yes, sir." What would you like me to do next, sir?
Well, yeah. I don't know, maybe before that or whatever is when Billy points out there's a firefight. They're shooting in all directions. Dutch is like ambush. Billy's like, nope, no tracks.
Yeah.
They just disappeared. And then they're like, Charlie, Mike, okay, it's time to go. And that's when Mac wants his payback, and Blaine gets out the minigun, and they go stomping through the jungle. That's when you get your first predator vision.
Yes. I have that in here too, but I couldn't find it. Again, you'd think that that'd be easier to find, but I guess people didn't want to take that picture and put it up there. But yeah, so you get the first shot of how the predator sees. But I would assume in the 80s, most people wouldn't have understood what was really going on.
Yeah.
That he's seeing just heat.
Right.
Also, everything would probably be really hot there. But
it's the hottest time of the year in a jungle. So yeah.
And he's not spotting any critters or anything, but
right.
So he needs to. So they come upon.
And that's when Dylan, when they see that right after the spectral stuff is when Dylan slips.
Yes.
And then Mac threatens him, bleed you real good, leave you right here.
So they come across the camp, and even as a kid, I just remember when Arnold goes down on his stomach. I'm like, that looks like so much fun. It looks like so much fun. So they kind of devise their plan, and I love the fact that like they're all set up to do what they need to do, and then when Arnold comes out, and again, why your leader is the one that's leading it? That's the one you really don't want dead.
Well, okay, he's not a colonel; he's a major, so he's used to getting in the mix.
Well, again, Colonel Matrix didn't care, so
yeah.
But when he sees this and he gets behind it, and when you hear Jesse going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Now, even when I was younger, I remember thinking this actually made sense because not so much that he deadlifted the car, but if the car went, that guy that he was trying to distract would not have looked back. He would have looked at the front of the car moving.
Yeah.
Now how the car went when it doesn't have tires is a whole nother story, but
it's got a powerful front wheel drive apparently where the tires were.
Except it's a rear wheel drive.
Well, I mean, whatever.
I know. But that thing comes crashing in, and sure enough, all hell breaks loose. Again, you would have think there's more pictures I could have found for this firefight, but there wasn't.
And then you start getting some cheesy lines like "stick around."
We got that in a little bit, but we get the first shot of the minigun, which my gosh, when I'm watching this, I'm like, all right, why has no one created a minigun this size that I can hold like that? Everyone is holding it. I want to hold it underneath it now because it doesn't look too big, right? I think it looks perfect. And you are just going to destroy everything with that thing. But Jesse comes through. There's a few things that So you see Dylan firing. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any shots of it. Then you realize Carl Weathers has no idea how to shoot a weapon. He just... And I have an issue with the weapons because I don't think you would take those weapons out. Like, you would not have brought those small the MP5s.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The submachine guns that they had.
Yeah,
they look like they had what M16s with 308s on it or something. I don't know. But they had the rifles, and then they had the submachine guns.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute because everyone had their own specialty. That's what I did like about it. So you have Jesse coming in. I'm sorry, Blaine coming in with his minigun, just leveling people. I still don't understand how none of them could shoot him. I mean, he was like right out in the open. Just because someone has a minigun doesn't mean they can't get shot too.
Yeah, well, when you're surprised and you're crapping your pants and you got to run for cover from a guy firing a minigun at you, it takes a minute.
Very true. But all this stuff kind of happens. They go after the one guy, and Jesse tells that he's pinned down like an Alabama tick.
Yeah.
And when he's told, "Oh, you're bleeding," he says, "I don't have time to bleed." Even as a kid, I was like, I love when he says he got time to duck, and he just fires the grenade launchers straight up.
Yeah.
And just
knock.
Yeah. So you kind of go through again. I thought there'd be more battle scenes. So the one thing that I want to say about this, and it actually took me to this time to figure it out. Everyone has a specialty.
Okay.
Everyone has a specialty weapon. So you have Dutch. He has the 203 on it. Billy had the shotgun on it. Blaine has the minigun, so he's carrying the small submachine gun. Mac has the M60. Yes, that's why we all loved. That's why we all loved that gun. Hawkins, right? Yeah, Hawkins has the grenade launcher. He also carries the MP5.
Yep.
Now, it took me a second to figure out why Hancho only had the MP5, but he has
dual MP5.
No, he has the communication for it.
Right.
So, he was doing the communication to figure out how far everyone was out. So everyone had a specialty, even though it's never said. When you see those ones, like that's just all that you thought that it was. Okay, Pancho has a grenade launcher, and Hawkins has the other. I don't remember. Pancho and Hawkins are the same person in my mind. Right?
One has glasses, one doesn't. One is short fuse, one is recoil. Come on now.
Yeah, again, they're I actually thought Lawrence watched the movies and took stills as he went. I have before, but
that's what I did when I did it. But that takes a lot of time.
And I have done that in the past, and then you wind up with 200 shots.
Yep.
And you're like, I didn't need that many. Yeah, you're right. They're not the same person, but they're two people that are so forgettable that you forget their name.
No, man. I mean, Pancho is kind of like the second in command guy. He's Dutch's right hand and taking control of situations. And Hawkins is the goofball guy trying to make everybody like him. He's the young guy trying to be funny.
Yeah, like I said, Those are the two. To me, they were the two most plain guys that I always forgot their names. So here we have. This is pretty much when he gets called out.
Oh, so Dutch comes in and knocks out the woman.
Yes.
Pow! Forget this. And then Mac tells him the hostages are dead, and that they're not Central American. The cabinet member was CIA, and you've got Russian military. Basically, is what they're finding out. This is not what they came down here to do.
But this is also what I gathered from watching this. The rest of the team didn't know. Only Dutch knew this.
Yeah.
So I don't think the rest of the team realized that that's not who they were going in, or that's not who they were told they were going in to get. Only Dutch did.
Well, Dutch had a feeling that the CIA and the general were lying to him, but didn't have proof until now.
Yeah.
So he was the only one that even had speculation that their so-called mission was bogus.
And Dylan was doing such a good job acting. It was like he was a really bad actor.
You know what? I mean, quite honestly, I thought the acting was fairly good because they had the subtle moments that didn't require dialogue to let you know that other stuff was happening. That Dylan was pulling some underhanded shit, and that Dutch knew about it. That he was aware of it.
When Dylan is going, oh my god, oh this is so good. Oh, we got more than we could ever. And like the way he's looking around, I'm like, this.
Oh, that was bad. You know, yeah, with all the evidence and stuff, yeah.
But yeah, so he pretty much says, you know, after he calls him out, he tells him what's going on. And then he pretty much says, well, you're still under orders.
Yeah.
Which is a really ballsy thing to say when you know the rest of the guys are going to follow him.
They'll kill you and leave you in the middle of the jungle.
Yeah, the one guy's already threatened to bleed you real quiet. Like,
right. Well,
they're okay with leaving you there.
Yeah. After they kind of call him out and get ready to go and stuff, that's when they talk about the SOBs dug in like an Alabama tick. And then that's when somebody points out that Blaine is bleeding. And he says, I ain't got time to bleed.
Did I get that out of? I might have gotten that out of order again. It was all during this.
Yeah, and that's when Dylan's going. You know, we hit the GD jackpot. We got enough here. And Dutch is like, you set us up, and starts going after him. So Dylan's the liar.
They shoot at a lot of things. Here's another thing that I noticed, and I didn't notice this till now, till when I was watching it. And this really would have helped when he was battling the Predator. No one ever has a sidearm. Dylan has one. I don't think I saw another sidearm. No one used one. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, no, they never got pulled.
Because Dutch should have still had his sidearm while he was fighting the Predator. Like, he shouldn't have lost it.
Right. He said, you used to be somebody I could trust. What happened? And he says, I woke up. Why don't you?
Yeah, that's
when they talk about you're expendable asset. You're an expendable asset. That's all you are.
Yeah, that kind of makes you feel like a piece of shit, right? Like you're just expendable. Though it does come back to burn them in the end.
Sure does. Then they take the girl with, and then he's like, no, well, okay, fine. Then she's your baggage. You got to take care of her. And that's when we see Predator Vision again, watching everybody.
Well, this is a good question because it's extremely hot there. Did they have to cool their weapons down to straighten them?
Maybe so. I mean, it depends on if it was government issue or if it was Hasbro issue.
You know what? This was the 80s, so they probably stayed pretty straight. If this was now, they'd be really screwed. Unless they want to shoot around.
Yeah, I mean, the plastics were better. I mean, everything was made better in the 80s, right?
Well, they had knives.
Yeah,
but
they had big, gigantic knives.
Billy had a giant knife.
No, so did Dutch. I mean, there were 3 or 4 of them that had knives that were like 2 feet long.
Yes, but Billy's is like Storm Shadow short sword size.
That's what I'm saying. I said Dutch had one that was the same. It was about that
Did
size
he?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, ages 4 and up. They're like, damn it, we grabbed the wrong weapons. We grabbed the Hasbro weapons, not the Valiverse weapons.
Oh no. Yeah. Well,
okay.
yeah.
Listen, 1-7. Okay, that's 17. We're just going to use 17 decimal.
Yeah.
You're right. There's lots of hot water, but then you need the cold water to cool it down to straighten it. That's what my. You guys are awesome. Like you guys are awesome. Like this is exactly it. Like this is what I expected when we started this. To have this many people watching, throwing out stupid little jabs like this. Again,
It would be nice if they were machetes because that's what they'd be used for, but they were clearly not machetes. Those were giant knives.
Yes, especially Billy's, where his arms barely. Well, we'll get to that later on.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they're like, okay, we got to get back across the border. We got to get the heck out of here. And then he's like, Poncho, you take the lead and double time it. Dylan's pushing the girl around. Matt calls him Dylan. You know, oh yeah, so he calls out Dylan, and he's like, what? Why? And he's like, look up, and that's when he takes the giant knife and stabs the scorpion right off his shoulder. And he turns around to pull the gun on him, and then he's like, look, I got this thing I just took off you. And he's like, shit.
So okay, again, big knife, total overkill showing the scorpion. Why didn't he just use the M60 and blow it off his shoulder? I mean, that's like a sense like, come here,
bam.
Like, that's essentially what he was doing, and again, try and control a big knife compared to a small knife into a scorpion. But again, movie, so
yeah. Well, I mean, those little guys are armored pretty good. I mean, you got to have a really good sharp knife to get through their exoskeleton.
Well, one good thing it didn't go into his shoulder.
Yeah, right. Because it would have gone right into his lung where he stabbed him too. I'm
just. They had Naugahyde's knives.
Yeah, the one that's strapped on his wrist. Yeah.
So this is where we get the second joke.
Yep, Hawkins tells Billy another joke,
which is, do you have it?
No, I don't.
Well, I have it as I was just looking at it. Damn it, where'd it go? Yeah, so he goes to Billy and says, yes, I'm talking to my girlfriend the other day, or I'm going down on my girlfriend and I say, geez, you have a big pussy. Geez, you have a big pussy. And she says, why'd you say it twice? I said, I didn't. It was an echo. And he kind of, he's not laughing. And again, the first joke was foreshadowing this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Billy starts laughing. And in the laughing, we get the foreshadowing is what we're going to get at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because
that's the recorded laugh, right?
Yeah. And the one thing, I think the first time watching the movie, you don't really realize the Predator is learning everything they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's taking sound bites of it. He's watching them go through everything.
He's not going after the ones that don't use weapons. That gets established later on.
Yeah.
But the fact that Billy is laughing, and goes into a where he uncontrollable laugh.
And you can see, I mean, from Billy's, kind of bipolar personality, you can understand why they had to hire a bodyguard to protect everybody from him.
Yeah. So tell everyone that story that may not know that.
So when they hired Sonny Landham, I'm not sure how to say it exactly, but when they hired him, he had quite a reputation in Hollywood. So they hired a bodyguard for him also. The bodyguard wasn't to protect him. The bodyguard was to protect everyone else from him because he has a tendency to start fights and be a nuisance on sets and when they're not filming and stuff. So he has quite the personality.
All right, so I actually got this part wrong. Um, because I have Suns Out, Guns Out. They finish up, and next thing it's like, all right, Arnold, it's time to show off the arms. It's time to show off how big your arms are. Unfortunately, I got the wrong one because there's a perfect shot where he does the fist, and it's like, all right, dude, like I've seen you pose on stage. You were posing as much as you could.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was total pose.
um, but this is kind of where Billy's just looking up to him, and he's like, dude, what's going on?
Well, okay, so you've got they're moving out. You see the predator coming down, the dead bodies, and then he sees the scorpion, and he puts the scorpion in his hand, and you see the dead scorpion, and then you see the Jungle Patrol with Poncho and Mac when they take a rest break, and it says makes Cambodia look like Kansas.
Yeah.
The girl falls down and tries to run away, and she had got to smack her around a little bit. And then Billy senses something. He's starting to freak out about something.
Yeah, because that was the first escape. And okay, so this is where again they're like, all right, what kind of muscle can you make holding that M16 with the 203 on it? And he's like,
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. The saddest part is when you look at this, you believe that he could fire like that with an arm that size. And you know he can't. But you think like that guy can actually fire that.
Yeah, no, not so much. But whatever.
But
Yeah,
it is an awesome shot because that is an O-ring shot right there.
Absolutely. Perfect O-ring G.I. Joe shot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, really no one had arms that big in the O-ring.
Road Pig had him.
Oh yeah.
He was my Arnold Schwarzenegger stand-in.
Was he really?
Oh yeah.
I think I always used Gung Ho or Leatherneck, even though Leatherneck was really.
Because I used Road Pig, and I made sure that he had the weapons pack version of Leatherneck's weapon, so he could look like Dutch and Commando, or sorry, Predator. And then Dutch holds everybody covers. Asks him what's going on, and Max like he's been squirrely all morning. The girl's planning her takedown of Dylan.
Her takedown of Dylan.
Well, she is. I mean, she's gonna try it, right? Dutch goes out in the open to get to Billy. Something out there, and then the girl grabs the stick and whacks him.
But before that, you really they do a good job of setting up like you understand that Mac and Blaine have a relationship, and not a relationship like that. You sick fucks,
right? Yeah.
Like these two are the closest on the team. There, like these two are close of everyone that's there, and you kind of get the same feeling about Billy and Dutch. Like he's the one he's going to go to because when they need to get out of something, he's the one who's going to get them out of something.
Yeah, and they exchange a little drink there and stuff. But then Dylan moves up and Poncho takes over watching the girl. The girl smiles at Poncho.
Yes.
And then that's when they're listening to Billy and Dutch. The girl wallops Poncho and runs. And then you see the Predator vision is tracking her, And then Hawkins goes out to catch her because apparently he's also the fastest guy on the team to run through the jungle. You start hearing the predator noises. And
Which
then
I was under the assumption she was Dylan's problem.
right, but Dylan stepped away from her and called up Pancho to keep an eye on her.
They should have just shot her.
Yeah. And so, then all of a sudden,
yes. And this is the first time you actually see the predator without seeing him. Like, you don't really know what it is. Oh, well, I take that back. You can see him when you watch it again. There are other shots where you can see where the predator is, but this is the first time that you know what you're looking at, or you know you're looking at something, shall I say.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I'll call it the distortion. The distortion comes in and drags his body off. So yeah, that's the first type of, hey, what the heck is that?
But again, you can see him, once you know what you're looking for, you can see him in other shots earlier on in the movie.
Yeah, I know. Pancho's the radio man. He's still around. Pancho got hit with the stick. Hawkins went after the girl.
Yeah.
And then, the girl, she's covered in blood and freaking out. She's like not moving.
Yeah.
Hawkins gets dragged off.
The poor guy gets dragged off.
Pancho finds the blood trail.
Yeah, and she's just telling him that the jungle came alive.
Well, yeah, they haven't even asked her anything yet. Because what Dutch is like, did you find Hawkins? And Pong's like, I can't tell. Well, there's no body, no sign. What happened? All you have is some intestines lying around there. And then that's when Pancho comes up and ¿Qué pasó, mujer? What the heck's going on? And that's when she's like, the jungle came alive and took him. And Dill's like, that's BS. What she said doesn't make. That's not what she said. What she said doesn't make any sense. So you clearly get that Dylan speaks Spanish this whole time too, and he speaks really good Spanish, probably better than Pancho's.
Well, yeah, and they never elaborate on the fact that Dylan can understand what she's saying, because there comes a time later where he tells Pancho to talk to her.
Yep.
And that's when you find out she can understand everything.
He doesn't want to lay all of his cards out, right? He understands the language. He doesn't want to speak it unless he absolutely has to, because that's not who he is right now, right? Let somebody else handle that.
So they spread out like 50 meters, search through. I forget what it was. And as they're looking for it,
well, this is when Dutch is like, why not take the radios? Why not take the weapons? Why did she escape? He's asking all the questions of what the heck's going on. And Dylan, something happened to Jim Harper. He's trying to figure out, this is what happened to Hopper. We need to find the body. And then, the bloody leaf.
Yeah.
And Blaine switches. That's when Blaine switches off the safety, and they go tromping through the woods.
So unfortunately, Blaine gets hit. He gets hit twice though.
So he was hit once. He started turning, and the second one blew his MTV shirt all over the place.
And I even remember as a kid that being very graphic.
Yep, me too, for sure.
Especially when you look at it later and he has just a big hole in his chest. And again, what they were foreshadowing is the friendship between him and Mac.
Yep.
And Mac grabs the minigun and goes after him.
Just starts firing. And then everybody else comes in and starts firing. As soon as whoever comes on scene next starts firing their weapon into nothingness. They don't know what they're firing at. They have no targets. They're just shooting the crap out of the jungle. They're playing Lawnmower Man or something.
Which, okay. This is pretty much what happened with Jim Harper and them.
Right.
Exact same thing.
Yep, firing in all directions.
So what I remember going to see this movie is after they leveled the trees, someone going, "Hey, anyone want to build a house here?" And my dad laughing his ass off about it. Like, that's what I remember about going to see this, other than my dad took me to see my first rated R movie.
And then finally, when Max out of ammo, they finally convinced him to let go of the trigger, and you can tell he saw it. He saw something.
And again, no one's aiming properly. They're just shooting their grenades, wasting all their ammo, which they have endless amounts of ammo, it seems, till it's convenient to run out.
They have the video game cheat code. They have unlimited ammo. Did you not play the Nintendo game? I mean, come on.
And this is where Max says he saw it.
Yep.
Now, there's a couple things here. So you have Max, saying goodbye to him. Like, he says he'll take care of him. But then you get Anna, who's kind of playing in the Predator blood.
Well, yeah. So
and no one else notices.
That hasn't. Hold on a second. That hasn't happened just yet. They look at the body. They examine the body. They talk about no powder burns, no shrapnel. Wounds are cauterized. What the hell is this? Max looking over everything. He says goodbye to his buddy. Poncho's like, we hit nothing, and Dutch and Dylan, they start getting people out there. Dylan better get on the radio. Mac, Sergeant, so he ordered people around to get on the ridge. We need to scout this area out. That's when the girl goes out there and she finds the leaf covered in the alien blood, and she touches it because I guess you just touch phosphorescent things in the woods that you have no idea what it is, and just wipe it all over your clothing.
But here it is, like, you have Billy, who's this great tracker, the rest of this team, and none of them noticed the glowing green blood or whatever it was.
Yeah, they said we hit nothing, and nobody saw that. I don't know, were they just looking for the red mist? But nothing glowing would seem odd to them. That, I don't know, that seems odd to me.
I mean, that was one thing they kept showing.
Right. Yeah.
But this is where you first really see the Predator.
Yeah. Because
he's fixing his wounds.
So well, not just yet. They're setting up the booby trap.
Oh yeah.
Max, like, he was a good soldier. He was my friend, and he says his final goodbyes. Girl wipes the blood out of clothing because Dylan comes and grabs her. And then you kind of see the dripping alien blood in the leg wound. And the alien, this is when we see the alien, and he pulls out his med kit and performs a little procedure on himself.
And you see that he feels pain.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, like, this is stuff that I think in the 80s you normally wouldn't see.
Yeah.
He just fixed himself. They have all this technology. Like, he's in pain. Like, he's screaming in pain and shit. So
yeah, he put some like sutures on himself, and he put something in there that sutured it up and closed up the wound, and it's pretty wicked.
Yeah. And then let's see, where is it?
Then we're at Dylan on the radio. Basically, they're not coming in.
Yeah.
We're expendable assets. They're not coming in. And that's when Dylan realizes he's one of the expendable assets this time. And then Mac is still shaking, and he just starts mumbling. The jungle's alive. The jungle took him. Billy, what is it? I'm scared, Poncho. BS, you ain't afraid of nothing. So that's Billy and Poncho.
You ain't scared of no man.
You ain't scared of BS. You ain't afraid of no man. There's something out there, and it ain't no man. We're all gonna die.
Thanks a lot. You're making me feel really good there, Billy.
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks a lot for the pep talk. That's why you're not the leader.
And this is where you see Dylan's, higher level thinking going on here. He brushes it off and tries to rationalize it. He keeps going back to, this is a group of rebels. We're fighting men. These are soldiers. They're the same bad guys that we're always fighting. He just can't wrap his head around, hey, there's something else going on here. Let's just take the facts in as they come and make a decision when we get there. We don't have to definitively believe one thing or another. We just have to be receptive to the information. And Dylan is starting to shut down and not accept that information anymore.
Yeah.
And then Dutch is like, you still don't understand. They killed Harper. Now it wants us.
So they take the they have his body, and then Mac kills.
Oh wait, yeah. So yeah, Mac starts losing it. Twigs are snapping. Mac and Billy are on alert. Because they were doing the night watch. The flares are tripped. Everything goes up. Mac starts wrestling this giant thing and stabbing it, and blood's going everywhere. And
he's like, "I got you.
Boar.
I got you.
I got you. I got you."
And they're still making jokes when they find, they're still making jokes. They've just lost two friends, and he's like, "It's a pig."
Yeah. And then that's when the girl they realized the girl hadn't moved, all this commotion, and she just stayed right where she was, didn't do anything. And then Billy finds out that Blaine's body's gone. And then Pancho's like, he came right through our tripwires. All the traps that we had set up did nothing. It set off the boar tripped it, but this thing came in and took the body, and we couldn't do anything about it.
It's like Pancho's only line that people can remember.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is when it's a killer. It's taken to the treetops. They're like, oh, okay. Then the next morning, they're like, it's in the treetops, and that's when Dutch is like, okay, fuck this shit, and he starts interrogating the girl. And no more games, and that's when you find out, yeah, she speaks pretty good English.
Really good English. Yeah.
It's like a chameleon.
Which is one of those things it's one of those things you forget. And you're like, oh my God, that's right, she does speak English. Like perfectly good English.
And then Dylan's got the line, BS, 2 to 3 men at most, not a freaking lizard. And I go back to a lizard, huh? Well, could that be a reference to the giant lobster suit that they had initially? When Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to be the Predator, and they put him in a giant lobster suit, and they said, you know what? This just isn't working.
Yeah, Dutch is way cooler than Duke, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
But this is what she also says, that it was hurt. That it was bleeding, that it was hurt. And then you get Arnold's line, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yep.
He really meant, if it bleeds, I can kill it. Oh, you know what? Foxtrot, take that out of your mouth. Stalker is not Dylan. Because Dylan is an asshole. No. Stalker's from Detroit, so he's an asshole too.
But in my play patterns, I always put Roadblock as Dylan, and Stalker was Mac.
That makes more sense. Well, okay, so quickly, I know Whiskey wasn't here. I talked to Tony, and I said this earlier. I said, I wish I could do a 4-part comic, or someone would, where they do a declassified, like LARP declassified. And if everyone knows about, the whole LARP team, and where Stalker, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes all came from, and how they ended up with, losing the 3 different guys. Well, if they did a declassified where it turns out that they actually died fighting a predator, and that these 3 guys took one down, that would be awesome. And it'd be better. And if they did a movie, it'd be better than any of the movies they did for G.I. Joe.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that that's hard.
Well, so Tony, you can say Dylan. Yeah, he did. He set him up, but he did redeem himself in the end. And Duke and Roblox are extensively tied in my mind in so many ways because I don't have much of a fondness for either one of those characters because I liked Stalker before that, and I felt like both of these characters were in there to replace Stalker's character. Stalker was the second in command sergeant, and you get Duke in there to take over his role as sergeant, and then you get Roadblock in there to fill other roles, and then Stalker kind of gets brushed to the side. So I'm like, I like Stalker.
I never disliked Roadblock. He never bothered me. I think he had just a giant gun with a tripod. He did have like an alien like head.
Yeah, that initial artwork that they had for him, that face was weird.
Yeah, his head and his helmet never worked right. Anyway,
Yeah.
back on to the movie.
Back to the movie.
Yeah,
and
so like
more booby traps montage of everybody using all their muscles.
which the only which I guess the other main guy was well you do see Carl Weathers shirtless now, showing off his glistening dark skin. But then we have the
because basically he's like, you think all this Boy Scout shit will work? And he's like, well, stop complaining about it and help. And that's when he takes off his shirt and got to show everybody's muscles.
Which everyone just looks small compared to Arnold.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of the point, right? And then we get the break, and we get Mac dry shaving with his Bic razor as he breaks it off on his face. This always disturbed me too, because I imagined him peeling half of his cheek off while doing it. It had just a little bit of blood, but the way it happened, I'm like, ugh.
I never thought of it like that. And then when you watch it, you're like, that's some really bad special effects because it's just like a it looks like a red marker.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of red paint there.
But you have the Predator come through, gets caught up in that trap, and then just again, why they all didn't start shooting at it, I don't understand.
So that got me this time more in particular than others. I thought about that before too. It's like it goes up in the trap. Why aren't you blowing the hell out of it? As it's up in the trap, you can tell that it's in the trap, so just shoot the shit out of the trap. Don't let it out.
Yeah, I mean, the fact was, like, they were waiting for it.
Yep.
So you would think that they were ready to go. And maybe you wanted to catch it, but I think at some point you realize it's been doing some awful things.
Yeah.
And it came out of nowhere. Do you think they would have just like, all right, the moment it goes up there, we start shooting at it? And nobody does anything, and then the lasers start blasting out of it.
Yeah.
So he can get away.
Yeah, but actually before that, we had the girl talking about the story about how it only comes in the hottest months. And talking about a creature who makes trophies of men. That's what the old women used to say.
Okay, so Shane says I think they were caught off guard by the size of it, of the size, then it was gone. But they were waiting for it. They like you would think like they know something. I mean, this thing's like it just grabs a dead body of Blaine, who, let's be honest, that guy's weighing almost 300 pounds.
Yeah, and he did it without anybody hearing it or noticing it. But I guess he might have done it during the commotion with the hog. I don't know, but
we missed this about the blood on the cheek. They spent the money on Blaine's chest wound.
Fair.
We don't have enough money for real blood. Here's a red Sharpie. Make it work.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Stan Winston did the creature effects in this, and they had some good special effects people. So I don't know. They used something.
I'll tell you what. we're gonna get to the Predator, and as I was watching it, I was just like, you look at the original Star Wars and you look at those costumes, and you're like, I believe that those are real creatures.
Yeah.
This Predator looks like a real creature, even though you know a lot of it's a rubber suit.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mac goes after it. Mac has lost it completely.
Max lost his mind. Dylan. And then Dylan kind of goes after him.
Well, they were going to send someone else, and then he says, "I'll go after him."
Yeah.
So that's him redeeming himself.
And this is where Dylan gets to see the distortion. He sees it. Yes. He sees the alien. So Dylan sees it, and he's like, "Ah, crap! This stuff's real."
So he goes after it. He takes off everything.
And while everybody's running around, this is when Dutch says it for the first time. He says, "Get to the chopper." It's the first time he says it.
Oh, yeah, he does. So he goes after it. And so before this happens, he pulls Dylan in and says, "Past those trees. Do you see it?" And I'm sitting there going, all right, so you don't know how it's seeing you. But what you do have is that giant M60 there. Why have you not aimed it at that thing instead of firing?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that seemed like, it just seems like that's where you should have started unloading on the thing. Considering now you're seeing where it's at.
Yeah. And we see Pancho gets wounded here too.
Yes, Pancho got wounded by one of the traps. Which, again, Pancho, you're dead.
Yeah.
We're going to try and help you, but let's be honest, you ain't making it.
Mac's like, have me some fun. Have me some fun. Have me some fun.
Yeah, you knew Mac was dead at that point.
Yeah.
But before Mac gets to even fire anything.
Well, so Mac and Dylan are sitting there, and he pulls them aside and they see the alien. And then they devise their plan. They're going to go around and do this thing. And so they start executing their plan, and Dylan comes around, and he's like, "Well, where is he? Where is he? What's going on?" And you see Mac, he gets kind of crawling underneath a log, and well,
yeah,
that's
he doesn't.
That's
again,
the end of him.
And so I love Dylan double fisting the MP5s.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, sun's out, guns out.
Yeah.
And so this is where we see the Predators. Well, actually, what scene is this? Because he never has the two guns out at the same time.
Yes, he does. Okay, so he does, and it's right after Mac gets killed, and he sees him, and he starts turning around, and he starts firing, but almost immediately, the Predator blows his right arm off.
It blows the one arm off.
Yep.
But the other gun is wrapped over his shoulder because he's trying to pull it off.
Well, I thought he still had the other one in his hand and he was firing, and then the one on the ground started firing too as it's sitting there dismembered.
So no, here he loses it. This one is kind of wrapped around. Either way, he loses his arm.
Yeah.
The gun keeps firing. The gun keeps firing, which I again, that was the slow motion Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
But it actually works though.
Yeah. And it wasn't egregious slow motion. It was enough slow motion.
No, and right? again, if it was Zack Snyder, it would have added 10 minutes to the movie.
Right.
He would have unloaded the magazine, but the magazine would have held like 300 rounds.
And then they're running through to escape to get back to the chopper, and they're slipping and falling.
Hold on. Then... So here you have him with the one arm, but there is the original Predator.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, and I think most of you probably do, that the Predator look was not the original look. This was Jean-Claude Van Damme in a lizard style suit, I guess you could say.
That's not the one that I saw for Jean-Claude. The one I saw for Jean-Claude was a big red lobster suit.
Well, maybe. Yeah, so I don't know, like, and this picture showed up a few times, so it wasn't just once.
Yeah.
But I think this is just like the stand-in or whatever. But it's
No.
definitely
Oh yeah. No. That's it. I just might have seen a VFX version of it or something.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's the same one.
Because he gets replaced, not like he gets replaced later on in the movie. It's not like right away, but because he's not seen very often.
And they went back and reshot some stuff, and obviously for those things. But yeah, no, that it was just a bad suit, and apparently Jean-Claude wasn't the most easy person to work with on set either.
Oh, shocker! Maybe that's what the bodyguard was for. So Dylan gets wasted. I don't even think he shoots. I don't even think he hits the predator once. Dylan's useless.
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he gets his guts ripped out. And then, and what does he hear as he's dying? The predator replays one of the clips from earlier that says "anytime."
Yes. Michael Bay should have done the special effects for this movie. It really would have been epic. Epic explosions. No story though.
Yeah. So what happened just before that was that they were running through the woods and they're slipping and falling and stuff's going all over the place. And the girl tries to grab the gun to protect herself because Poncho's wounded and she feels like she's got to fight. And Dutch is like, "Leave the gun. He didn't kill you because you were unarmed. You're no sport." And I don't know how he gathered that kind of information, but he did. So that's when we get the first idea that he's not going to do that unless you have a weapon. And then the scene with Dylan happens, and then we get Billy stopping on the bridge to cut himself, which I never understood that. It's like, why are you going to wound yourself right before you go into battle?
Even as a kid, I'm like, wait a minute. You threw the gun away. You've watched this thing wipe out like your team. Like you're like one of the best teams. But you throw the gun away, which not only is an M16, but also has a shotgun on it.
Right.
You take the vest off, which would be your protection. And then I just remember going, you don't even look good. And then he takes the knife and draws the paint down his chest. I have not been in a lot of fights, but I'm assuming I would not want to cut my chest open right before I get into one.
Right. I mean, if you're going to get into a fight, why are you going to wound yourself right before you get in there?
I'm with you down south.
Yeah.
But you do martial arts. Have you ever once gone into a tournament and said, "Hold on, I need to cut my chest open before I do this"?
Yeah, it's like saying, "Hey, let me punch myself in the face hard enough to break my nose before I go into the fight." Because I'm that crazy. I'm that into this, so you can't hurt me. No, you don't do that.
And I guess, I mean, I understand they were trying to set up that Billy wanted to have an honor fight. I don't think it was very honorable because he dies really quickly because you just hear him scream.
Yeah, we don't even see how he dies. We just we don't even know if the predator's like, forget you, and just blast his head off, or if he actually goes down there and tries to, clang blades with him for a second.
No, but I went to high school with a redneck mofo who used to cut his lip with a pocket knife and spit blood at people.
Well, okay, that's a different kind of crazy. That's somebody who's obviously got Hep C and he's just trying to spread his love.
Liquid says the pain triggers adrenaline. Okay.
No, I understand those kind of concepts of the adrenaline kick and and the chemical response of the trying to get ready to fight and all that stuff. But no, there's other ways to do that.
I would think a giant alien coming after you is enough adrenaline for you.
Right? Yeah.
But I've also never been chased by a giant alien that's wiped out my whole team. But I'm just assuming.
You didn't? I thought everybody had to go through that.
So Billy dies.
Billy dies.
Hawkins gets wasted, or is it Pancho?
It's Pancho. Hawkins was already dead.
All right, Pancho. We'll just call him Hawkins from now on, because they're one and the same.
You know what? You know what's funny? In my notes, I actually wrote Hawkins gets shot in the neck at this point, but it has to be Pancho because Hawkins has been dead.
Yeah, because
that's when Dutch kicks the girl out of the way and just starts firing.
Well, this is when she goes to grab the gun. She goes to grab the gun.
No, that happened earlier. That happened earlier
when
they were running.
No, he told her earlier not to do it.
No, but because she was grabbing it. Yeah. She didn't try to grab it here. He just kicked her out of the way and starts firing.
Are you sure?
Absolutely positive. I wrote it down in order at the time that it happened.
Because I have Dutch stops Anna.
So that happened before Dylan died. When he stops her and yells at her to keep going, leave the gun. He didn't kill you because you were unarmed. You're no sport. Dylan dies. We do the whole Billy thing, and then we get to here. After he does that, he shoots what's his name in the neck, and then that's when he kicks her out of the way and starts firing.
I let it kick anyway. So this is where. This is where we realize that he just changed his name, and he was demoted. Because I'm sorry. He is clearly Matrix. So he just starts unloading his M16. And then he gets shot in the arm. Now, we already saw this arm blast. We already saw this laser blast blow off Dylan's arm.
Yeah.
But not Dutch. It's like a fucking flesh wound.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. Because if you look at it closely, I think the alien was definitely toying with him because the alien, the Predator, he shot the weapon. He didn't shoot Dutch. He shot the weapon. Because the weapon pretty much explodes, and that's the damage that Dutch takes is from the shrapnel from the gun exploding.
Hey, sure.
I watched it again real close. That's what the Predator's beam weapon hit Dutch's weapon and made it explode.
That thing was blowing people in half.
Right. I know. That's what I said. The Predator had to specifically target it that way for whatever machismo thing that he's trying to do with his hunting patterns, but he shot his weapon out of his hand. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever, but I paid close attention to it this time.
Okay. Well, this is when he yells, "Get to the chopper."
Get to the chopper.
Okay. This is the big one. You get to the chopper. She just knows right where to go for the chopper. And they're just going to pick her up because hitchhikers? I don't know. And here we get he falls from a big cliff.
Yeah, so he goes running through the woods to get away from it, and then he slides down this thing, and then he realizes, oh, shit, and he falls off into the water, and then rides the water down, and then falls off the waterfall.
A waterfall.
So not only did he fell off a cliff into the water, he got rushed downstream and thrown off of a waterfall on top of
it. And he swims to safety.
Crawls out into the mud, or he's sitting there. He's getting ready to pass out, but then the alien drops into the water. He's like, "Crap!" Starts climbing out, covered in mud.
Now this is where he finds out that he can't see the heat.
Yeah.
But am I crazy to say, like, he wouldn't be that covered in mud? Not like he is. Right? Like,
right.
He's perfectly covered every piece of him.
Well, and not only that, I mean, you're still going to have a heat signature, but so are all those trees that you're with too. So everybody says it's heat vision. It's clearly not heat vision. It's some other kind of spectral vision that he's got, because it's not exemplifying heat, even though that's what they keep focusing on.
So and he shoots the rat, or tries to. Can't even hit a damn rat.
Can't even hit the damn rat.
You
The rat
kidding?
just, or marmot or whatever it is, just shoots off.
Listen, I can go down the street right now in Detroit and find guys that could hit rats. Luke Skywalker could hit a swamp rat. I mean, or womp rat.
Womp rat and his T-16. Yeah, no difference there. Come on.
So this is where he figures out that, hey, you know what? He can't see me because I have mud on me.
All right.
This is the great predator. He can't see mud.
Yeah, but then he goes and starts making all his traps, and he makes a big fire, which would cause heat and smoke, and the predator should be able to find that fairly easily. But anyway, he's making his traps to set up for the predator at nighttime with the fire next to him.
Yeah, mud is the predator as lead is the Superman.
Exactly. Yes, that is absolutely correct.
On the plus side, it keeps mosquitoes off you. Okay, well, at least he's not getting beaten up and eaten.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, he goes through, starts creating all these traps.
Makes his bow and arrow out of the explosives.
Okay, so okay, we got to talk about a little bit of this. So he creates all these traps. Now we know that's how they did bungee, the bungee sticks back in Vietnam and everything. He makes some really nice, precise ones in a short amount of time.
Yep.
A matter of fact, like a whole day goes by and the predator doesn't come looking for him.
Right.
I would assume that mud would dry, so you wouldn't be cool anymore. But he makes these perfect bungee sticks. He never gets hungry, but he makes a bow and arrow.
He found that rat that the predator missed and ate it.
Protein.
He
makes the bow and arrow, and he makes a bow and arrow so good that he literally puts it through a tree.
Mm-hmm.
He puts. I mean, I don't know. Trees are pretty thick. I mean, they're literally solid. But he creates a bow and arrow that can go through it. Again, we're going back to Matrix strength here.
Yeah.
One of the things is he has a huge tree that he somehow cut down or got down.
Matrix. He's pushed it over.
He creates perfect rope. And then he's able
you can do that. Can't you do that out of vines? You just twine the vines together. I mean, I'm sure Ed could do it.
Okay. Then he hangs this giant tree that will kill this alien.
No, it's a counterweight for the trap that's supposed to fall and pin the alien with the spiked gate. So it's the counterweight. That's what its intention was.
Yeah, but he has the stick there that's holding that thing.
Right. Yep.
A little tiny stick. That even as a kid, I went, will that hold that, Dad? And he was like, no.
Nope.
There's not enough pulley systems in this world to keep that thing up there.
Right.
J Astro says, I've never understood why the predators consider themselves these amazing hunters when they spend half their time cheating by being invisible. You know what? I agree with you. There are some of those things where, but hey, you know what? That's kind of how assholes think, right?
Right, of course.
Speaking Moistly says the mud doesn't work. Ask Chad. I says there is a lot of BS, but this movie is awesome. Listen, this movie.
Oh yeah, no, this movie is totally awesome. We may be nitpicking some things, but we're just making fun of it just to make fun of it because it's part of that suspension of disbelief. We still love this movie.
All right, so once he's ready.
Well, so we go back to the Predator too. So it intercuts
Oh
between
yeah.
scenes with the Predator, and you show him bleaching the skulls and like examining them, and like, hey, this is really cool. And then you see the full moon with Dutch covered in his new dried mud as he lights the beacon.
So after he creates everything, because I did also have, we see the Predator pull out Billy's spine and skull.
Yeah. So we see him collecting his trophies, and we see him bleaching the skulls and stuff.
Which, let me ask you, you're a doctor. If someone was to reach in and grab my spine and rip it out, would it all come together like a chain, or would it come apart?
The spinal column and the spinal bones would probably try to stay together as best as they could, but there's no way that you're not pulling out a lot of viscera and a lot of rib bones with it, because most of those thoracic vertebrae are attached to ribs. So you're going to pull out a lot of those or break them, but there'll still be pieces of them on there. But there's also going to be a lot of viscera attached to it, because that's a lot of meat that you got to go through to get there.
No, I don't think so, and I think that this is a huge miss that someone has not created this team. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know how NECA hasn't done it, but I mean, there should be a good 6-inch line.
Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that the way he rips it out like it's a fucking nunchuck probably is impossible.
So also, if you notice when he rips it out, how it kind of keeps its shape too. It doesn't flop down. It doesn't just go wherever. It just kind of like it was pulled straight off the anatomy skeleton in your closet, in your classroom that's made of plastic.
All right, so he calls out the Predator by literally
riding a giant fucking beacon.
Yes. And so this is where we start to see that this and Commando were done around the same time.
Yeah.
First he calls him out.
And then you see the Predator, once he gets the call, you see him sharpening his blades with his tool, his little laser sharpener.
Well, it looks like I always thought he was heating it up, which I'm like, well, would it still be hot by the time you got there?
So I viewed it as he was using the laser tool to sharpen the blades.
I never thought of it that way, but that might be more. That might make more sense. Although I will tell you, hot things really suck, because I accidentally touched the nozzle of my 3D printer yesterday, and it.
It and then if he heated it up too much, it would totally become a Hasbro weapon, because it's going.
Maybe that was him giving him a more of a chance.
Yeah,
is it gonna be flimsy?
More sport. Yeah.
So of course, he climbs a tree to watch, and then the Predator is right behind him, which I love.
The Predator just chose that tree to come in on. I thought that was amazing.
But thank God the mud was there to protect him. I mean,
it was all dried, but yeah.
Superman's lead.
Superman's lead.
So he's right behind him. Now this is where you realize, like, all right, I recently did this. So he swings across the trees like he's in a mall. And it's like shot for shot. Other than he doesn't land on the top of an elevator, he lands in a tree and then he hugs it.
Yep.
And I'm like, it never even dawned on me that this was right after Commando. So he does that again.
Well, and then the Predator follows the movement.
Yep.
And jumps onto the bridge.
He shoots explosive.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's when he shoots the explosive arrows at him.
Oh yeah.
He's above the fire.
Yep.
Again, you just shot an arrow through a tree. You should have just shot a fucking arrow through his head. Um,
Yeah, I mean, why'd you miss? Uh, and then yeah, they jump on the bridge, and he drops down, and he has to climb to the underside of the bridge, the tree bridge.
that he hides underneath it,
Yeah, and
which
then
I believe he did
he
in Commando 2 at some point, something like
yes, he
that.
did.
Where,
Yeah, almost the same thing. And then the predator's getting real close, and he's like freaking out, so he throws a rock, so that he goes and shoots the rock,
yes, and he's chucking spears at him.
and then he starts throwing the spears, and he wounds him. He hits him with one of the spears.
And at this point, Arnold, like the predator, has become the prey.
Yeah,
So Arnold, or I'm sorry, Dutch has become a somewhat of a predator. Doesn't last very long because
right.
um, once he kind of gets him, he shows he can wipe the floor with them.
Yeah,
But for some odd reason, for sport or whatever, he decides I'm going to take off my mask, take off my gun. I'm still going to keep the giant claw.
right.
Uh,
And I'm just gonna toss this little human around
yes.
and just beat the crap out of him.
And when he unmasks, that's when you get the "you are one ugly motherfucker,"
Yep.
which I think we have all used at some point in our life when we've seen someone. Uh, usually after a breakup, like,
Well, you could say a couple things that looks like, but
yes. So the thing that I did want to mention about was the Predator was when you see him doing like taking off the mask and everything, you know it's this rubber suit. But even looking at it, watching it a couple days ago, it looks real.
yeah,
Like the rubber suit looks like a real hands, real fingers. Uh, so much better than what you get with this digital stuff.
it's because it's a Stan Winston project. Stan Winston is a freaking genius for making creature effects and makeups. You can really tell when it's high quality stuff made by somebody who cares about it. And Stan really did such amazing work. And this piece here with the animatronic pieces of it and everything, phenomenal stuff.
So Matthew, I'll let you answer this.
What's that? Was Optimus Prime the what's that? I can't see it.
Says was Optimus Prime the voice of Predator, or maybe am I mixing it up?
You know, yeah, you're right. Peter Cullen did do the voice in this. He did the monster sounds, the vocalizations. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he did sound. We were talking about that earlier, before we started the show. So he basically leads them back. Oh well, here we have a whole bunch of stuff that I missed. So here's where, like I said, he kind of becomes the prey, or he's the predator here.
Predator. Yeah.
And then he realizes, and he just kind of looks at him, moves him around.
Well, you see, he's examining his skull to see what kind of trophy it is. He says, "Oh, yeah, this will be a good trophy. Look at this steroided modified skull I can get."
I never thought about this. Someone needs to superimpose Barry Bonds' head onto this. They have to shrink. They have to shrink the Predator's hand because it won't fit around his head because it's so big. That never dawned on me. What you just said, like that never dawned on me. That makes perfect sense.
Well, when they showed that other scene before, when he bleached him and everything, and how he was holding them, and he was doing his Hamlet impression there, and then he does it again here. He's looking at the skull.
Yeah, that never dawned on me. But for some odd reason, he decides he wants to fight him hand to hand. But he still wants to keep his claw. Not that I blame him, because the claw was so badass.
Right, yeah.
But he takes the laser off, and then he unmasks. And again, everything about this you look at this creature, it looks like it's real.
Yep.
Like if you didn't know any better, you'd be like, God, I don't know where they get a predator to act so well. But even back then, like when he's taking the mask off, just putting the air shooting out,
Yeah. All
it
those
was
little details.
it was so cool. I don't know what it's doing because obviously he doesn't need it to survive. There's really no reason for it. But when you look at it, it was like nothing was left. You know, everything was just done superbly.
Yeah. And then so he starts running away. He's trying to set the predator up. Things are blowing up everywhere. Dutch has lost all of his weapons. He doesn't have anything left. Climbs through the trap. He's hoping the predator will follow him. The predator's like, fuck you, I'm not going that way. And goes around his trap. And he's like, shit, what am I going to do now? Game over, man. Game over. And then he remembers the counterweight.
Okay, all right. So, all right. I never took it that way. I always looked at it as he was trying to trick him that he would see where the bungee sticks were, knowing that he would come around. Because when he was sitting there looking, he was waiting for him to get underneath there.
I always took it as that was not the plan. He wanted him to come underneath there. So when he kicked out the thing, the counterweight would drop and then the gate would spike him in the head and kill him and trap him there. Right? So that he'd get stuck in the basically the portcullis, the gate that would drop on his head as he went underneath there to get to him.
See,
and then when he didn't, he's like, oh fuck. You could see it on his face. If you watch his face, he's like, oh shit. He didn't do the thing that I needed him to do. And so he's quickly trying to think about what he could do to counteract it. And then he realized, oh, the fucking counterweight, I can use that.
See, I always took it as he expected him to find the spikes there and to come around, and that's what he used, knowing that he dropped this big ass tree on him.
Yeah, the only thing that changed my perspective on that is that I noticed the look on Arnold's face when he didn't go underneath it.
But he's always looking up. That's why. See, that's something I would love.
But he wasn't. But he wasn't. He was looking at that, and he was waiting for him to come underneath. And then when he didn't, he had this like deflated look on it. He just like totally deflated. Like, oh shit, I'm dead.
Huh. I would love to hear from the director what. Now, because I never thought of it like that. So, Speaking Moistly says, what do you guys think of Prey? At first, I hated the movie, but now I like it. It's a lesson about do not underestimate your opponent. Well, we discussed this earlier before we started the movies. Prey is the only Predator movie that I actually think is good. Again, I'm not a fan of Predator 2. I know a lot of other people are. I find a lot of them entertaining. I mean, I do think the Predator vs. Aliens is entertaining. I wouldn't call it a good movie.
It's not, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I think Prey is really good.
I need to rewatch it. I liked the movie when I saw it, but I also saw some, continuity flaws and story flaws. But I think it was actually a good movie. I did enjoy it.
And what I liked about Prey was he didn't have. I mean, obviously, all his technology was higher than what they had, but it wasn't as advanced as what we see here. He didn't come in with the lasers and everything like that. So,
yeah, Wade, I totally agree with you. I think that's the point of all of the Predator movies because Dutch, Danny Glover's character in Predator 2, and Prey. Those three movies that's what they're about. The other ones have all this other weird stuff in it that is not indicative of Predator movies, in my opinion. But
so anyway, he's here. He drops the log on him. And then he's about to smash his head. But for some odd reason, he decides, I'm not going to.
Why the fuck not?
Yes. This guy
I don't understand. This is the second thing that I really didn't understand about the movie. Why didn't you shoot him when they were up in the trap?
Yeah.
Why didn't you smash his skull with the rock and just get it over with?
And these are two things that I thought about even when I was younger. Like,
yeah.
Like this guy just, I mean, or this thing just eliminated not only your whole team, but your buddy Jim Harper and his whole team,
Yep.
and God knows how many other people, right?
Yep.
And yet, for some odd reason, you gave him mercy.
But we all know that Jim Hopper survives because he was in Stranger Things. Oh, sorry.
He must have found that tunnel to Russia.
Yeah, he found the tunnel to Russia and then got back to the U.S.
So here you have it. He starts doing the countdown, but once again, now we get the Billy laugh. So once again, first you have Billy that doesn't laugh at the joke. That's setting up, it sets up the second joke. Billy gets that laugh, and that was one of the things he kept recording.
Yeah.
And now you start getting this laugh. Now I always took it as he was actually imitating the laugh because his thing that he would call a mouth,
yeah,
is moving.
I always went back and forth on it. I sometimes I think that it's the predator laughing. Sometimes I think that sounds exactly like a recording of Billy's laugh, distorted the way that the other ones were too. So I always go back and forth on it. I'm fairly certain that he's probably trying to mimic with his mouth the recording.
Oh, you know what? That actually does kind of make sense. But he sees the thing going down, and this is where you see his superpower of running away from a nuclear bomb.
And all of a sudden, he becomes the Flash.
He's not hurt anymore.
He's not hurt anymore, and he just went 5 miles away from a nuclear blast. I mean, come on.
Have you ever tried to run in the woods? It's not that easy.
It's not that easy. Especially at night when you have trees getting ready to smack you in the face.
With that said, in Top Gun 2 Maverick, he runs through snow to somehow get to Rooster, which I'm assuming he probably would have been shot down miles away, but knows
he
exactly.
He would have had a heart attack way before he got there. I don't care how good a shape he was in. In the cold weather, the depth of the snow, how far he had to go, he would have had a freaking heart attack.
And he's running in this flight suit with his helmet.
With the helmet.
Maybe he had the oxygen mask on. We're not talking about that yet. But yeah, he runs away.
There he is. There's the Predator right there.
Yep. So there's the Predator. He's the helicopter pilot. I love the fact that they did this.
Yep.
Listen, I understand. Tom Cruise was going to run. You take that back. I understand. I am with you.
But you'll notice that when Tom runs in any scene, there is never another person around him when he's running. Do you know why? Because how freaking short he is, he doesn't want to be seen running next to him.
I've never seen someone run erect the way he does. Yes, I said that. Erect. But you know what? If I saw a Tom Cruise movie today and he didn't run in it, I would feel like I got ripped off. Matthew, you hit mute. There, I unmuted you.
Okay, there we go.
Just found out I can't unmute you, even if you do it yourself. Yeah, so they see the explosion.
Well, I just want to go back. I do love the fact that they put the actor in there.
Yes. It's little things like that. I like when they put Anthony Daniels in the Star Wars to show his face.
Yep.
I think you deserve it. David Prowse didn't get that, but I believe George Lucas also hated him. Or did he hate the other one?
I don't know. So there's a complicated thing with David Prowse. That was a whole other thing. And Lucas didn't think about doing that until the David Prowse thing happened. That's why you didn't see Anthony Daniels' face until the prequels, and you also saw Jar Jar in that bar too. So
Yes.
The guy who played Jar Jar was in there.
Oh, Misa's so stupid. Okay, so Speaking Moistly says Predator is mimicking Billy's laugh after the dumb Hawkins joke. No, we know that.
Yeah.
But I always felt like he was actually creating the laugh, not just replaying it. They never really say whether or not they are or not.
Yeah.
I kind of like what you said. We're like, yeah, it was recording, but he's kind of mimicking it as it's going on. That kind of makes more sense because it is perfect. Although I don't know what kind of electronic listening devices he had, because he was able to get some really good shots.
Right. I mean, he's got like a pinpoint Doppler mic, like you can just laser it. I mean, that's some NSA stuff right there.
And then I had a couple other pictures, but then to show up. But then
the last one's my favorite. I mean, that exemplifies the entire movie. You got Dutch sitting in the chopper in the early daylight, covered in mud, just laying there, focused off into the distance, going like, "What the hell just happened?" Just trying to process it, but say it's over. I'm done. I can breathe. There's so much conveyed in just those couple seconds of film right at the end.
Like Predator mimics Max turnaround. Do you know what he's saying?
Well, I mean, he mimicked one of Mac's other lines from earlier.
Yeah.
When he said any time.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
He's from Canada, so it might not translate properly. Are you French Canadian speaking moistly?
Oh, let's not go there.
No, because I had the picture of him like when the smoke is clearing, which really, when the smoke cleared, he really should have had when it came up, he should have had a cigar in his mouth. It would have been so cheesy, but he really should have. But I agree, like the last shot where he's beat, like he's done.
He's done.
Like, you normally don't see that. Normally at the end of like these action movies, they're all like ready to go and hey, I can be doing, but he's done. Like he's a beat man. Like he's lost his whole team. He's finally exhausted. Somehow he didn't need to cut his chest to get adrenaline going.
Right.
He was like, oh, the big giant monster that looks like the worst pussy I've ever banged. That's enough to get my adrenaline going. Although if you saw the one like that housekeeper that he had a kid with, it might look like that. Sorry, that lady's not pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mimicking society, culture, whatever. They're out there to hunt everybody.
Okay, Speaking Moistly says French Canada is the best Canada in the land. Okay. Oui. I can't really say too much considering I believe Texas is trying to succeed from the nation right now.
Not yet. I mean, we have the right to do so, but not yet.
So we can't speak too much more about. We can't say for too much longer. Make our jokes about Montreal trying to succeed from Canada when we might have that happening soon enough.
Yeah, I don't. It's not really a feasible option. I'll just say that it won't work well if Texas tries to do that.
Wait, you don't think that's going to go over well?
No, not so much. I mean, the legal precedent is kind of there, but not really. And people say, "Oh, it's definitely there." It's like, not really anymore. We've accepted the federal government for a long time now, and that's kind of the way things are.
Do you really want to be on your own, though?
No, because we still have to import so much stuff. I mean, we don't make enough food here in Texas. We may have some energy output that we could distribute out, but we don't have enough food. So we'd have to be importing food all the time, and that ain't gonna fly real well.
And when I need a passport to come to Dallas for training,
Yeah, I mean, you might.
anyway, I love this movie, and this is a movie that I can watch. I know it's not the one that you and I wanted to watch. I know you and I wanted They Live.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure the moment we decided on how we were going to do this.
Well, as soon as Predator got put on there, I was like, oh crap, Predator's on there.
Especially considering a lot of the people that were voting, they didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem watching this.
No,
I feel
it's
like
great.
I feel like anytime we watch one of these movies, we do learn something that we didn't before.
Yeah.
Just like every time I do a review of an O-ring figure, I'm like, oh my god, I never noticed that on this figure. It's little things you don't look at as a kid, right? But I don't. There's very few people that will say they don't like this movie.
I mean, it's a good movie, and it's a great action movie. It has so many amazing things in it, and like I said, in the first 10 minutes, you've got the entire setup for the movie. In the first 30 minutes, you get, hey, everything went haywire, and we're going down a different road now, and the movie just kind of unfolds, and it's really well paced, really well written, and I mean, whatever you think of their acting chops, I still think that most of them did good jobs emoting and conveying stuff non-verbally that was really important to the story points that went through.
Okay, so Wade Holliday, you make a great point here, but I'm going to say this: in the '80s and the
everybody
90s,
shoots from the hip.
In the '80s and the '90s, they never shot properly. No one ever. Although I will say this: watching this again, in that first scene, they actually do fire properly a few times. I think it's which one has the grenade launcher?
Hawkins.
Hawkins. I don't want to get him wrong. Get Tony mad. Hawkins is actually shooting properly. Arnold is actually shooting properly. Now, they all have full automatic, which, again, you have 30 rounds tops in an M16. I think those things shoot 100 rounds per minute.
Yeah,
you're running out of ammo pretty quickly.
Yeah, so fast.
And I'm going to say this. I want to say until Black Hawk Down came out, you really didn't see a lot of military movies that fired properly.
Yeah, every now and then they would get a good on-set person to help them walk through that stuff.
Yeah.
And then at some point they realized, hey, we can hire SEALs to do this. And they'll come out to the set and they'll work with us and show us how to do this stuff. Or we can get actual tactical SWAT teams to come out and show us how to do this stuff. And they want to do it. They want to help us because they want to make it look better than it did in the 80s because they didn't have that education. So
and you can talk to pretty much any military person. They'll say an M16 or an M4, we never used more than a 3-round burst. But usually it was single shot. Now, I know before someone says, hey, what about Private Ryan? Though, like World War II movies and stuff like that, they always fired properly because you weren't shooting from the hip. Nothing was, But have you ever seen someone shoot a Tommy gun properly? They all just shot like this. All right? Gangsters maybe did, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So Speaking Moistly says, ask Chad about Predator. He is a career soldier, and so am I. I like the movie. Yes, it is BS, but it's cool. Hey, listen.
Right.
I know it's BS. I mean,
it's a movie.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I have many military vets in here that would agree. And again, not a non-military vet, I could tell you that they're not shooting properly. But they did it in the 80s and the 90s. Like, They just didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like that was such an oversight. I'm also willing to bet that most cowboys didn't shoot their 6-shooters the way they show.
Yeah.
But we still love Tombstone.
Yeah, we do. That was a fun one.
Speaking Moistly says we never put it on auto. He usually put in repeat.
Yeah.
Max Gunn was also impossible.
Well, it exists, and he actually was the first person to ever fire that weapon by himself, I believe. Without it being mounted or with supports. I think that actually did happen. Of course, it wasn't live ammunition,
Blaine.
but
Okay, yeah, he meant Blaine's.
yeah, I figured he meant Blaine's.
Yeah,
but I believe he was the first person to ever fire one on camera. I don't think it was full rounds or anything. But Down South was also saying it's probably the lighter version of what people think it is, because there's two versions of it. But
he's carrying it like this. He's not carrying the top where it's dropped down.
Right.
And I believe because I watched Mac holds it the same way. And from what I understand, I believe that's the same minigun that's used on Terminator 2.
I think the Terminator 2 one is it's more fake, because I think it's a much larger version of that. I think it's the big one.
I thought they said it was the same. It was the same prop.
I think it's because I think the barrel's longer. I think it's the big. I think it's the 81-pound version of the weapon. This is rather than the 41-pound version of it, because I think the one they used here was the smaller one. Is what Down South was telling me earlier.
Yeah, that's what he says. 41-pound gun dry, about 81 pounds of ammo for that one scene. So I kind of tend to believe what you said. I got to look into it, because I know I had read and heard that on Terminator 2, Arnold was the only one that could actually lift it and hold it to do that scene.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we had Blaine and Mac running around with that thing, and we know Arnold could have obviously carried it.
Yeah, and if it was empty, maybe, but also go back and look at them, because I really noticed it this time more than I ever have before, probably, is how small that minigun is compared to the one in Terminator 2, which is much longer, much larger.
Now I want to go look at the 2. But it reminds me of there was a Roadblock that came out that had a smaller minigun that I always thought looked better because it was smaller.
Yeah.
I forget which version it was, but anyway, I really like this movie.
Yeah.
I think you did too. You talked about it. It seems like everyone else did. We had a pretty good crowd today. And I'm not sure what we're gonna do for the next one. I kind of want to do another countdown because it makes it easier. You want to do They Live?
I do. Yes, I love that movie.
All right. Well, then we're gonna do They Live. Looks like I have to buy it. So I don't think it's free anywhere.
If not, Shout Factory has a good version of it. So yeah, it's a good movie.
So Down South says 22-inch barrel. The one in T2 is probably the larger version. That's 81 pounds. Again, carrying an 81-pound gun.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for people to fully understand. Like when you lift weights, and let's say you lift 80-pound dumbbell, it is a solid dumbbell.
Right.
But you pick up like an 80-pound box that is all off, or hey, how about this? A 70-pound pit bull.
Yeah.
It's not as easy. I'll take the 80-pound dog any day. I'm sorry, the 80-pound dumbbell any day over the 70-pound pit bull. So, all right, I'm going to get out of here. Matthew, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you guys very much. James Lucas, thank you very much for joining the channel members. Definitely appreciated. I will be back Monday. I believe my topic is going to be fun. Toys should be fun. not really drama. So kind of
Fun,
something
not
I'm
drama.
thinking-
Fun, not drama. Fun, not drama.
But I want to talk about fun.
Yep.
I think Payne talks about it a lot. So, but I'm gonna get
Yeah.
out of here.
I like that. Got my action figure blog. Appreciate you guys, and I'm probably going to be on with Aaron on Payne's toy samples, toy therapy in some early February.
Ooh, about time you're doing some other shows. All right, you guys all have a wonderful day, wonderful night, and we'll see you guys all Monday again. Take care.